and employees. In addition, the Unemployment Insurance Fund has set aside 5.3 billion for extension of the COVID tiers coverage. This will mainly cover those who have lost their jobs due to the lockdown and the recent looting and destruction of businesses. With regards to KwaZulu-Natal province, the Office of the Premier has advised us that over 3,000 businesses, including facilities, were looted, they were vandalized, they were burned, resulting in more than 15 billion rands of damage of property and equipment. This has affected a number of small towns and other economic corridors that are dependent on grants for revitalization of the local economy and business retention. The province has developed a plan to renovate and support vandalized township shopping malls and shopping centers that are based in rural areas. We want to commend the work that has been done by the premiers of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal in engaging and taking into confidence investors whose businesses have been affected by looting and the public violence to continue with their businesses and operations. We also remain committed to our efforts of economic reconstruction and recovery of the economy, which will be our watchword in trying to empower our people and forge a sustainable development, especially on women and young people. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Mtetwa. Honorable Mtetwa.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy President, for this comprehensive response. We accept the response as an honest, and particularly to the extent that you have appreciated this was unpalatable and it has caused untold devastation to the community, to the economy of our country. Deputy President, can you please give the people of South Africa an assurance that the law enforcement institution are looking into these matters and that the perpetrators of this heinous crime will be brought to book, in particular KwaZulu-Natal, in Phoenix and the other areas? I thank you, Deputy President.
Honorable Deputy President.
The member is correct. This incident will not escape the attention of government. We are currently trying by all means to strengthen our law enforcement institutions, our security structures, so that they stand ready for future disruptions. We're also working with all formations within communities and societies at large. And we also want to encourage them to work together with our structures so that together we bring long-lasting peace. But we want to assure our people that government will up its game in trying to protect its citizens and protect businesses and protect life. In future, we are going to stand ready for such occurrences. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The second supplementary question will come from the DA, Honorable Protestant.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy President, Dobry den, Privyet. I hope you are strong like Mother Russia today. And by the way, happy birthday for yesterday. I believe it was your birthday yesterday. Mr. Honorable Deputy President, the plans that you have laid out today relating to financial assistance to small businesses will all come to nothing if they are not implemented speedily. Will you today to commit to ensuring that the assistance is provided regardless of BBBEE status, and will you commit to a definitive timeline within which these small businesses will receive the financial assistance they so desperately need? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President.
And of course, the honourable member is correct. The sooner we attend to the destruction, to all the businesses that have stopped working, the better for our economy, the better for our country, and the better for those who are unemployed, who have lost their jobs. But I must say that it will depend on basically on the availability of resources. The resources that we have made available, it is not enough to deal with all the problems that have been created. But I must assure South Africans that our South African Special Risk Insurance Company, which is within the fold of the state, is also currently making an assessment of all the looted and banned businesses with a view of providing support. I am sure that they might give support of more or less close to 10 billion, depending on the assessment. But they will be working together with government. So as government, we have not waited. That is why we have reprioritized the funds that we have so that we can start working with the province, the two provinces, so that we start to rebuild and try and recover the employment that has been lost due to these incidents. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The third supplementary question comes from Honorable Lutuli. Honorable Lutuli.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to everyone. Deputy President, the unrest that followed the incarceration of former President Jacob Zuma became more than just about his imprisonment. The unrest was the eruption of the frustration of the people who have for a very long time felt excluded and unheard. What it unfortunately showed us was that there is no central authority in government, with ministers are contradicting each other and the president. Do you agree with the president's characterization of the unrest as ethnic mobilization and insurrection, or do you share the view of the poor people that are tired of being excluded? If you do, what short and medium-term plan are in place to address the exclusion of the majority from the economic life of this country? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Chairperson, well, on the face value of things, we can simply agree with the honorable member that these riots and unrest were sparked by the arrest of the former president. But we don't want to take things at face value. We want to thoroughly investigate the cause and probably the plan, so that we come up with a very conclusive and correct report about what happened. Well, I think as a country we must accept that we could have done better as the security cluster in trying to avoid this kind of occurrence. That is why we've committed ourselves that we'll step up our game will strengthen these institutions, law enforcement, and our security structures, so that we set ourselves some warnings, prior warnings, before such incidents can occur. I think as government, we should be knowing. Therefore, we are preparing ourselves, we are strengthening ourselves, and want to assure our society and our public to say this won't happen again. We'll be ready the next time around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The last and supplementary question, the fourth supplementary question, comes from the IFP, Honorable Ngwezi. Honorable Ngwezi.
Yambo somkhulu siyabingelela kusekela mengameli. Sithokoza kakhulu ngempendulo oyinikezile. Kuyasithokozisa nokuzwa ukuthi uhulumeni neminyango basohlelweni lokuba kufakwe ifunding ezokwazi ukuthi iphinde yenze umnotho wethu ukwazi ukuthi uqhubekele phambili. Kodwa ke ngifisa ukwazi sekela mengameli ngoba abantu abaningi abasebenza kulezi indawo lezi ezaluthwa, ezinye zazo zinikezela ngokudla endaweni zamakhosi, ezinye zazo zinikezela ngabantu bamakhosi amathuba emisebenzi, ukuthi ngakubo luhambe ibanga elingakanani uhlelo lokuconsulta namakhosi ikakhulukazi endaweni zamakhosi ngalolu hlelo eniza nalo lokufukula kabusha umnotho wakulesi sifundazwe sakithi KwaZulu-Natal. Ngiyathokoza Nyamboza.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I must also say greetings to the honorable member, and I'm happy to see him again. Chair, I must say that the work that has been done by the two houses, the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly, after the advent of these unrest and disruptions, by sending up teams and portfolio committees, select committees, to go and investigate the extent of the damage and how people have been affected. So I've been listening over the past 2 days, debates in the National Assembly were debating this report. They were telling us exactly what happened to agriculture, how agricultural businesses have been affected, how communities have been affected. We are going to utilize those reports going forward in terms of responding to some of the challenges. When we'll allow some of the institutions that are currently busy making their own assessment before they put the funding. In this case, I mean Sasria, which is an insurance company under the fold of the state, which is going to contribute considerable funding under these circumstances. So all of us are geared towards really assisting those businesses that have been disrupted, so that those who have lost their employment can once again regain their employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The second question is question number 14. 1-4. This question is on dealing with incompetence at ESCOM. This question is from Honorable H.S. Oshroff and is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
At a meeting that we held with ESCOM that took place on the 13th of August, we were briefed on the extent of the damage that took place at Medupi Power Station, Unit 4. We advise that the generator failure incident that occurred on the 8th of August 2021 has been classified as a very major event. It is anticipated that the affected unit is likely to be offline for a considerable time period. That is why an investigation team comprising of ESCOM and experts and the original equipment manufacturer that has been appointed by ESCOM to determine the root cause and the full extent of the damage caused. The people contributory aspect of the generator failure is part of the investigation scope. For now, Honorable Chairperson, it is too early in the investigation to address remedial actions. Having said that, Chairperson, ESCOM has in the meantime placed employees who were responsible for the management and the execution of the generator pegging activity on precautionary suspension pending the outcome of the investigation. Upon completion of the investigation, we expect that the leadership of ESCOM will take appropriate remedial action. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, Honourable Deputy President, and welcome back to sunny South Africa, depending on where you are. Honourable Deputy President, the question that begs to be answered is whether this explosion was caused due to shortcuts being taken to ensure that the country's energy capacity is not compromised. And then, Honourable Deputy President, I personally do not think it is right for this country to be told that the reparations will take a considerable time. What this country needs to hear from the Honourable Deputy President is the exact time frame for these reparations, and then what the cost will be to the taxpayers who, at the end of the day, will be held responsible for this expenditure. I thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Member, for the question. We are equally concerned about this incident at ESCOM, but however, it's best to respond to an outcome of an investigation so that we are appropriate and proper in our response. I understand the frustration that as a country we're facing in terms of energy shortages, load shedding. We've been through a very rough journey. But we should not really take shortcuts because that will hamper our movement forward. So I want to appeal to honorable members to allow this investigation to be completed. And we're going to urge ESCOM that we complete this investigation a bit sooner so that we can start with the repairs of this unit and bring it back into generation. So I request honorable members to allow ESCOM a bit of time to do the investigation, and we're going to report back to this House in terms of the outcomes. Already people who were working on that day were placed on precautionary suspension, pending the outcome of the investigation. We are really going to take action if this incident is as a result of a human error. But if not, I'm sure the leadership of the utility will decide and give us the way forward. But for now, let's allow them space to do their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The second supplementary questions come from Honorable T.B. Matide.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to you and the Deputy President. Deputy President, the unfortunate explosion that happened in Udupi is a serious setback to the progress which has been registered by the power station in particular and the utility, ESCOM as the utility in general. It is, however, encouraging, Deputy President, to note the progress that has been there in stabilizing ESCOM. And as per the ESCOM results that of 2020 showing improvements in governance structures, financial and operational performance is quite encouraging. But however, this explosion, Deputy President, we want to check, Deputy President, whether this explosion will not reverse the gains that we have already done in terms of stabilizing the utility. And also get an assurance that as soon as the report is available, it will be available to the investigation report is available, it will be available to the House as well as the relevant committees of Parliament. Thank you very much, Deputy President.
Deputy President.
I want to concur with the honourable member that this is a major setback on our efforts to stabilize our energy generation. We have, over the past few months, recorded good progress in terms of stabilizing our generation, stabilizing load shedding, which we must commend the ESCOM leadership for all those good efforts. Yes, I agree, this is one step back. But we are fortunate that the entire plant, that is the power station, has been saved. A unit exploded. Out of the 6 units, 1 unit exploded, which we can still repair and allow the other units to proceed, giving us generation. So we still have our power station, and we'll repair this 1 unit so that the entire power station is back into generation again. This Honourable House will be favoured with the reports, the investigation report and the remedial actions, because this is in the interest of the country to know what happened and what is the extent of the damage and how much it will cost us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The third supplementary question come from EFF, Honorable Debray. Honorable Debray.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's the Freedom Front Plus, not the EFF, but nevertheless.
We don't want you in the EFF anyway.
Good day, Honorable Deputy President. On the topic of inexperienced and incompetent staff and contractors, seeing as there are suspended or suspensions pending investigations, it is safe to assume that human error played a role in the explosions at the Mabuza power plant, which begs the question, what criteria are being used in hiring staff and contractors at ESCOM, and especially at the Mabuza power plant? Are employees and contractors appointed on merit based on skills and experience, or is affirmative action and EEE once again the deciding factor instead of merit, skills and experience? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think within ESCOM's human resource capability, I think we're fairly fair in terms of skills. We are doing ongoing training so that we've got people that can look after these facilities. I don't want to preempt the report. Of course, I cannot rule out a human element because these power stations are manned by people. So if anything happens, those who are on duty at that time will be in a position to explain what happened. But for correctness sake, let's allow this investigation to be concluded. I'm happy to convey this message to the House that ESCOM is gradually building its skills gap, closing it with the required skills that are needed by the utility. Remember that we are coming from a period where we've lost some of the skills over a period. But now the current leadership is trying to rebuild and everything seems to be stabilizing. And all we must do is just to give this leadership the necessary support. We will definitely pull through. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The last and fourth supplemental questions come from the EFF. Honorable Zamdamela. Honorable Zamdamela.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, you previously characterized sheer incompetence at ESCOM as sabotage by ESCOM insiders who are intent on crippling the power utility. Deputy President, is there any evidence of sabotage at ESCOM? And do you not consider the real sabotage at ESCOM that is by senior leadership of ESCOM in order to collapse the utility, the entity, and hand over power production and distribution to private companies? If not, are you not of the view that the recent actions of the ESCOM CEO, who publicly gone out in support of opening up competition to ESCOM for power generation and said it's detrimental to the stability of ESCOM? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy President.
Welcome the question from the honorable member. I want to assure the House and the honorable member that there is no intention of government that is led by President Cyril Ramaphosa to privatize the generation of energy. We have harped on this point many a time, and I'm sure some people in our society are very skeptical that finally we want to hand over this utility to private hands. That will never happen. The President has assured us many times. The only thing that we spoke about was the unbundling of ESCOM into transmission, generation, and distribution, which is on course. I don't want to preempt, like I said in the report, whether there's a deliberate effort to undermine all our efforts so that we can finally give up in terms of holding this asset. That I don't know. But we are not going to be deterred and we are not going to step back. We are going to forge ahead in trying to fix all the problems that are affecting this power utility. Whatever the challenges that are within the workforce, we are going to deal with these challenges step by step, time after time, until we root out elements that are working against our efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The next question is question 15. This question is on addressing increasing levels of youth unemployment and or poverty. The question is from A.D. Malika and is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
As government, we have recognized that COVID-19 pandemic has had a negative impact on our effort to create jobs, particularly for the youth and the people with disabilities. Since the advent of COVID-19 in 2020, the share of young people under 35 years old in all employment levels has fallen from 56% before the pandemic to 50% today. Notwithstanding these current conditions, government is making targeted interventions to address youth unemployment and poverty. These government-led interventions and multi-sectoral and include a number of structured programs. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy and livelihoods, the President announced in October 2020 the employment stimulus aimed at generating employment. As of March 2021, Honorable Chairperson, it had supported almost 600,000 employment and self-employment opportunities. Through this program, government has allocated a total of 13 billion rands in the 2020-2021 financial year, which prioritizes young people and women across various sectors. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, as custodian of the Public Works Program, has created 963,650 work opportunities for young people across all sectors. Through the expanded Public Works National Youth Service, 3,900 youth have been trained. Government is advancing an integrated service delivery model, which is carried by the Department of Cooperative Governance, contributing towards youth employment opportunities through the Community Work Program. During the 2020-2021 financial year, 65,000 young people benefited from the Community Work Program by receiving an average income of 880 rands. Honorable Chairperson, during the last 3 financial years, the Industrial Corporation has provided support of approximately 2.6 billion to youth-owned enterprises, which contributed to the creation or retention of 3,800 jobs over the past 3 years. By the end of March 2021, the National Empowerment Fund has already approved a total of 1,146 transactions with a value of 11.1 billion rands A total of 54 transactions are youth-empowered, youth-owned, valued at 372 million rand. These programs are cross-sectoral interventions and seek to achieve the following objectives: provide relief package to young people denied tangible participation in the economic mainstream, break down structural barriers keeping young people out of economic opportunities, build back better from COVID-19 pandemic by targeting low-income earners worst affected by worsening inequalities. Prioritize continuous training and reskilling of young people with requisite skills demanded by the new world of work. Support young people who live in township and rural areas to participate in economic hubs by addressing prohibitive issues like transportation and high data costs. Over and above these interventions, during August 2021, government reintroduced the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress grant of 350 rand. While, Honorable Chairperson, this grant is specifically not targeted to youth, from the previous iterations we have noted that more than 60% of the recipients of this grant are young people. The reintroduction of this grant will make a significant difference in reducing poverty and hunger. Moving forward and working with our social partners, it will be important to find practical measures and incentives further discourage young work seekers, and also scaling up our incentives to employers in both the private and public sectors to employ young people so that they can gain foothold with requisite experience. Among concrete measures is to ensure that there is high absorption capacity of young people and women, and set aside in sectors such as agriculture, agro-processing, mining, tourism, and oceans economy. At the recent held 4th Human Resource Development Council Summit, we have agreed on the urgent need to address the issues of young people that drop out of various points of their schooling, prior even to attaining their matric qualification, as they add more numbers of young people that are not in employment, not in education, and not in training. We further agreed that our response should be comprehensive enough to ensure that we equip these young people with the relevant skills that are relevant and will close the prevalent gap of skills required by the economy and those that are available in the labor market. We are optimistic that throughout our coordination of our Human Resource Development Council, we will be able to find workable long-term solutions to skills gaps and youth unemployment through convergences in the deployment of our resources to achieve better outcomes. In this case, we are going to ensure that all government departments prioritize this issue of skills development. The importance of pragmatic public-private partnership cannot be overemphasized to empower and capacitate young people to whom economic emancipation remains a deferred dream. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, President. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Malika. Honorable Malika.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ngibonge kusekela Mangameli ngempendulo yakhe egculisayo. Honorable Deputy President, on Tuesday, 24th August 2021, the National Council of Provinces held a plenary session with 3 ministers and premiers to present their plans to deal with youth unemployment, which has reached crisis levels. I say this to demonstrate that this House takes this matter very seriously. We note all these interventions that are proposed by our government, but often some of these interventions are slow to be implemented and or do not reach all the intended beneficiaries in villages and townships because of liturgy, mismanagement, maladministration, and corruption by some people within the public sector and even in the private sector. Honorable Deputy President, how do we give hope to demoralized young people that this will not happen with all this progress? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy President.
I must say to the honorable member that yes, this matter is a matter of concern to all South Africans because our young people are loitering the streets, they are frustrated. But these are the efforts that government is putting forward and will continue to upscale these efforts. The employment stimulus will be continued as advised by the President. It has assisted a lot. More than 600,000 people were assisted. And we hope we are going to broaden this program. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure will continue with the expanded Public Works program, which is a program that is currently in force. The Department of Cooperative Governance will continue with the Community Works program, enhance it, so that we reach more and more people. But most importantly, we want to commend the work that is done by the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Small Business, by supporting all these small businesses, because there is no economy that can create the much needed jobs that we are looking for if we are not supporting small, medium enterprises. So this government is on the right track to supporting these small enterprises, because these enterprises would automatically create the necessary jobs that we want. And some of these enterprises are run by young people. So we have invested over the past years in our young people's ability to run their own businesses, and will continue to support them. And we welcome the proposal and the initiative by the Department of Trade and Industry, the announcement made by the President that we are going to support, put an incentive to all employers out there to employ young people. And they are going to get an incentive by employing these young people so that these young people can benefit experience. Give them a foothold that they can move forward and be employable. They've got the necessary experience, but government is going to provide the necessary incentives. Not forgetting our skills development. We need to put more effort to skill our nation, to skill our young people, preferable with skills that are demanded out there in our economy. And I'm hopeful that the Department of Higher Education and Training, Science and Innovation is on the right track. We need to upscale this training and make it relevant to what is needed out there in the world of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The second supplementary question comes from Honorable Ngwezi from the IFP. Honorable Ngwezi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP. Honorable Deputy President, it pains me to know that the government itself have trained and paid for so many young people to do social work and to do Bachelor of Education through Funza Lushaga, NSFAS, and many other financial programs that are available. Yet those people today have not been employed. And this problem started somewhere around 2014. And I would like you to respond to me and to many other young people who are directly affected by this. For how long must young people who have been trained by government on different bursaries and like Funza Lushaga social work bursaries, for how long should they wait for employment? Because the demand in the Department of Social Development and many other sectors like that and education is there. Classrooms are full. Institutions where social workers are required, they are full. And government seems to be, not doing well in employing these people. So for how long should they wait? Because the rate of high unemployment, these people also contribute a percentage on that one. But government is not addressing that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank the Honorable Member for the question. The concern by the Honorable Member is well placed, that we have trained young people. They're out there, they're unemployed, because the intention right from the beginning was that these young people must be employed in the public service. However, the Honorable Member is aware that over the past few months, we've been grappling with our wage bill. We want to stabilize our wage bill so that we employ people, we enlist the services of people where we think service delivery is being hampered. So we need to reprioritize, remodel our organizational design so that, yes, we employ more people where we think service delivery is not up to scratch. It is quite clear that in terms of social development, with all the stress that our people are going through, we need a number of social assistants, social workers, but that is going to be taken after we've made a thorough organizational design and stabilize our wage bill so that our workers in the public service should receive an increment at the right point. They should not be deprived of an increment because the state can't afford. So we need to correct that, and we have given ourselves time really to deal with the matter. But for the meantime, as much as we recognize that, we are not going to all of a sudden absorb all these young people that are out there. I'm happy that some of those who are trained to be teachers, they've been absorbed through our employment stimulus. Some of the 600,000 workers that have been employed through this stimulus package are young teachers that came into the system to assist. It's not a permanent job, but it has given our young people a bit of an experience, and some of them are going to be absorbed as we fill certain posts that are available through natural attrition. Some people are taking their packages, they are leaving the service. Those people are going to be employed. But of course, we need to emphasize the fact that we need to work with the private sector so that whatever we train, all those people that we train are relevant to what is needed out there in the world of work. That we're going to insist and we're going to correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The third supplementary question comes from the EFF, Honorable Matebula. Honorable Matebula.
Deputy President, officially 34% of South Africans are looking for jobs and they cannot find them in this country. The expanded definition of unemployment sits at over 44% and employed in the province like unsustainable beyond the sideshow of job summit that the president occasionally hosts. What is the plan? What plan does your government have to reverse this very dangerous through the austerity measures introduced by the National Treasury? I can share.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. We really regard the situation of unemployment in the country as a very serious concern. Government is not happy about it. Even the President is not happy about the situation. I have discussed this with him and is thinking hard about options that we need to do as a country. But we must say to our people that we're still under the restrictions, still under COVID-19 restrictions. Some of the companies have already closed just because of the lockdown, the restrictions, which is a requirement to save lives. But as much as we are trying to save lives, we must ensure that we save livelihood. But we need to always find a balance between the two so that we don't expose our people to dangers of finally losing their lives. We are going to continue, like I said, with the employment stimulus. We are going to continue with all our programs, our community work programs, our public, extended public work programs, our program of incentivizing employers to employ young people so that they can get a foothold, the necessary experience. So all these programs are going to proceed. They are going to be funded by government. In the meantime, while we are battling with this COVID-19, and I'm sure we are going to look at other programs that will stimulate work opportunities, but in the meantime, mindful of the restrictions that comes with COVID-19. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. The fourth and the last supplementary question will come from the DA, Honorable Parker. Honorable Parker.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Deputy President. Chairperson, for me, I think that we are working on a time bomb because there's quite a number of young people that are unemployed and the number keeps growing. If you look at the beginning of this year, 46% of young people were unemployed. The rate was 9.3% among university graduates. We also have youth now who form an integral part of the social development grant pending for COVID-19. Now, for me, this is a dangerous situation that we're living in Now, what I want to know from you, Deputy President, is what is the government doing to accelerate economic growth, particularly in labor-intensive sectors, and building the capacity of the state to fulfill its development role to address youth unemployment? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I agree with the Honorable Member that this is a time bomb. It's a very unacceptable level of unemployment that we are facing currently. But I want to remind the Honorable Member that we are in this situation because of a number of factors. And the recent one is the upheavals, the unrest in the two provinces, KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. There are a number of jobs that were lost in all these malls that were looted, that were banned, adding to the pool of unemployed young people. So that was a very unfortunate situation in the battle against unemployment because we lost property, we lost assets. We need to rebuild. We need to rebuild. In the process, I hope these young people would once again find their jobs. As we rebuild those malls, we get those factories working again. But the situation will not really come back to normal as long as we are living under these COVID restrictions. That is why, as a country, we are calling upon our people to vaccinate. Why vaccinate? It's because somewhere, as a country, we must reach a herd immunity. We must get more of our people to vaccinate so that the infection rate can be reduced. And we're all immunized, stronger enough to fight this disease, this virus. As long as our people are skeptical about vaccination, that means we'll take long in this COVID-19 environment. So by vaccinating, we're allowing our country to quickly recover from this situation so that our economy can recover. It's important that we insist to our people to vaccinate. But as government will be employing all strategies to try and reverse this situation. But again, we want to call our population to go and vaccinate so that we get out of this COVID-19 environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The next question is question number 16. The question is on rectifying water crisis in the Free State municipalities. This question is from MAP, the brain, and is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
The three municipalities that are referred here, like the number of others in the country, do have service delivery challenges. Some of these challenges relate to the capacity of such municipalities to provide reliable and efficient water and sanitation. This, Honorable Chairperson, is a matter of grave concern. It is for this reason that as government we have realized the need for a better coordinated and comprehensive approach to all interventions at municipalities through the district development model, for which the purpose of this question will result in communities having access to water and sanitation. For example, Honorable Chairperson, In the case of Masilonyana local municipality, we have noted, despite the considerable strides which have been made to overcome water provision challenges, concerns on the availability, concerns on the quality and management of water in this municipality persist and requires attention. The same situation of inadequate access to clean water is applicable to Mangaung and Maluta-Pofo municipalities, where challenges of water provision is as a result of inadequate maintenance of infrastructure and lack of interlinkages of various schemes that are found in these municipalities, respectively. In this regard, Chairperson, on the 26th of May, Cabinet resolved to establish an interministerial committee on water and sanitation so that this IMC can provide leadership and technical assistance towards addressing and resolving challenges in the provision of water and sanitation services in the whole country. This IMC is established under the leadership of the Deputy President as an institution coordinating platform that brings together players within government, including infrastructure, South Africa. The intention is the development and implementation of a multi-sectoral plan to source funding for water and sanitation infrastructure projects. This will lead to municipalities effectively delivering water services, be able to build communities for these services, be able to collect revenue that is due to these municipalities, and also be able to elevate asset management. In addition to this intervention, the President has recently announced the separation of the Minister of Water and Sanitation from Human Settlement to build on improving our targeted strategies of ensuring that we secure our country's water supply services and ensure that every community has water. We take comfort in the progress we've made in ongoing resolutions of water challenges in Maluta-Pofo, following our oversight visits on the 30th of March, 21st of May, and the 19th of June. The issue of lack of access to water in the municipality is a typical case of inadequate planning and implementation of an integrated water infrastructure. For instance, we discovered that in Maluti-Pofo, water supply is inadequate for the 100,000 households that are found in the area. Currently, approximately 80% of Bukudazichaba, 64 localities, are dependent on Fika Paso scheme for potable water. This dam becomes vulnerable during periods of lower than usual rainfall, and the population which depends on this dam struggles to get water due to this systematic problem of lack of integration of the bulk water supply infrastructure. In the true spirit of an integrated planning by the whole of government through the district development model, we have developed, Honorable Chairperson, a focused action plan as an outcome of our collaborative efforts to support Maluti-Pofo. This plan is focused on fast-tracking the implementation of projects related to linking of our 4 schemes that are found in the area. We'll continue to use this coordinated approach to address these similar challenges in other municipalities that are facing similar challenges. We'll also elevate our efforts of restoring governance in municipalities across the country to prevent disruptions of services. We are confident, Honorable Chairperson, that through the Interministerial Committee on Water and Sanitation and a dedicated Ministry for Water and Sanitation, we will overcome the prevailing challenges of water provision in many municipalities. We continue to call for our active citizenry that cares for facilities in their localities, that do not vandalize, do not ban infrastructure, thus ensuring sustainability of all these services that they consume. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Debray. Honorable Debray.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, I really do applaud the fact that you recognize the problem and that you understood to do something about it. But having said that, I still need to ask, since your last visit in Malutia performed together with the Minister of Water and Sanitation earlier this year, the promises were made to spend about 220 million rand in the short term and 2.1 billion rand in the long term on infrastructure and so forth to bring relief to the water crisis. What has been done so far, and how much was spent to date, as the citizens of Malutia are still complaining in this regard? Mr. Deputy President, regarding the Mangaung municipality, or metro municipality, some will argue that there are no or few water crises, but most fail to keep in mind the rural towns of the Westdorp, Weppen, and Stellenbosch, which also forms part of the metro after they joined the metro in 2016, clearly before political gain. As we speak today, the Westdorp is without water for about a week now, and in the last 4 years, citizens count themselves lucky if they have water for 2 hours in the mornings and 2 hours in the afternoons. This after the issue has been raised to the municipality numerous times since 2018, only to fall on deaf ears. What are you, Mr. Deputy President, going to do in terms of your oversight role to help the people of the Westdorp to enjoy the basic human right to have access to clean water? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thanks to the Honorable Member for the question. We must say that as we're dealing with the challenge of electricity in Maluta Pofong, we got to know about the challenges of water in the entire district. And we were made aware of the challenges of water in Mangaung, made aware of the challenges of water at Mfuleni municipality, and the sanitation problems going with these water challenges. Now, we have since investigated exactly what is happening. What is the problem? The first problem is that there were disruptions in the delivery of electricity due to the fact that these municipalities are not paying on time, and they had continuous fights with ESCOM, taking each other to court, disruptions, and we finally intervened. And the court has ruled to say, no, ESCOM must take over the supply of electricity in those areas. And we've agreed with the court ruling, and we are now working on a service level agreement that must be signed by ESCOM and the municipality. That will also help in the provision of water, because some of the water infrastructure and the pumps need electricity so that they can pump water to the required destinations. That is one problem, but we've also discovered that there are a number of projects that have been started to try and join all the schemes that are there that are not speaking to one another. So these projects are now on our radar screen, and we want to ensure their completion, because if one scheme has got a problem, the other scheme can augment, so that communities under that scheme should not be without water. That means all the schemes must be speaking to one another because they are within a district. The same happens with Mangawu, the same approach with Mfuleni. Mfuleni were dealing with the sanitation problem, and we're making progress. Now that we have got a dedicated ministry of water and sanitation, I think movement forward is going to be faster. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The next question, supplementary question, the second supplementary question comes from Honorable C.F. Smith from the DA. C.F. Smith.
Honorable Chair, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you very much, Chair. Firstly, Deputy President, I'm sure you would understand this specific phrase as you've been spending a lot of time in Russia. Debro pajal ovaci, obratno is Rossi. Which translates to welcome back from Russia. Honorable House Chair, my colleague from the Freedom Front Plus states that these municipalities have been battling with water problems for more than 4 years. We forgive him as he is new. But the DA already obtained a Human Rights Commission report against Macedoniana municipality in 2008, and Joe Slover Park in Brantford still has no water 13 years later. Your Minister of Kokta wasn't even aware of this report when we submitted written questions. All 3 municipalities were under administration from the province more than once over the past decade. Why did you not address the water issue in 2006, 2009, 2011, 2014, or 2016, or 2019, when the ANC was elected to deliver these services? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy President.
Much, Honorable Chairperson. As much as I'm accepting the challenge that is before us, that we must resolve it because we are responsible currently. We are the government. Of course, for the past years, in 2006, 2007, I was not at this position where I am, but I take full responsibility of what has happened and commit ourselves to fixing these problems. So I'll come back to the House with a clear plan, indicate all the challenges and the work that we're doing there, so that you can follow exactly step by step what we are doing. I must admit that in certain cases we have been failed by officials in these municipalities. At times we are not capable, we are not skilled enough to deal with the problems, and at times we have been failed by the political leadership in these municipalities for not really rising above their own challenges so that they can face the challenges that are faced by the people. But these problems, we're not lamenting about them. We are going to face them, and we're going to address this water challenge, this electricity problem, the money that they are owed to ESCOM, the money that are owed to all the water boards in these different municipalities. We will come back to this House to give a progress report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The third supplementary question comes from M.S. Mletsane of the EFF. M.S. Mletsane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, the problems faced by the 3 municipalities in the Free State are the same problems faced by the majority of municipalities in this country. There is a rampant corruption and no consequences for those who steal from the poor. there is no overwhelming strategic development role that has been defined for the municipalities. You know this. We all know this. The Auditor General's report about these problems every year. Why have senior leaders of government ignored the findings and recommendations of the Auditor General with regards to municipalities every year? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy President.
The Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs is currently dealing with all the Auditor General's outcomes that are very specific to what must be done. So the Minister is trying to help support municipalities in order to address the issues raised by the Auditor General. That work is in progress. And if possible, Honorable Chairperson, would want to appraise the House about the progress that has been made so far to address the concerns raised by the Auditor General. Very important, because it should not just be a compliance matter that the Auditor General every year, year in, year out, will raise the same problem and nothing is done. So we want to come back and say, this is what has been done. This is outstanding. But of course, we are working very hard to strengthen our law enforcement agencies so that we are able to deal with corruption at the level of municipalities. More and more effort is going to be put in trying to investigate and arrest people who are alleged to have been stolen some money from these municipalities. We are improving our capacity to deal with mismanagement and maladministration in those municipalities. That report by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs will indicate the efforts that we are putting in dealing with these challenges that are faced by municipalities. I cannot agree more with the member about the observations that all municipalities in the country, in the main, are faced by more or less the same problems of maladministration, mismanagement, and corruption. At times, internal conflicts at a leadership level. All those issues we committed to address them. And from time to time, we'll be able to give progress report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The last and fourth supplementary question comes from the ANC. S.J. Mohai, Honorable Mohai.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks, Honorable Deputy President. The necessity to improve governance and strengthen planning across municipalities cannot be overemphasized. It may be true that some of these municipalities struggle with revenue collection, which makes provision of services impossible, but this is precisely the reason why we need to strengthen planning in order to circumvent some of these challenges. To what extent is shortage of requisite skills a contributory factor in the collapse of these municipalities? And are we confident, Deputy President, that we have a plan to address this situation? And lastly, I want to say, we are encouraged, Deputy President, when you say that government will ensure that there's improved governance characterized primarily by consequence management in cases of malfeasance. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mohai. Honorable President.
faced by municipalities. Correctly speaking, you are right when you raise the element of skills. There is skills mismatch in our municipalities. People that are not engineers are deployed in areas where engineers are required. Hence, the failure of municipalities to deliver services that are appropriate. So we're working on that, as raised by the Auditor General, key issues that we need to attend to. So we're going to attend to the question of skills mismatch. We're going to attend to the governance failures, mismanagement, maladministration, and corruption. Going forward, we're going to strengthen our hand. We're going to arrest people. We are going to convict people. Those that are mismanaging the affairs of these municipalities will be expelled from these municipalities. Those that are behind maladministration will be expelled. Through our district development model, which enforces us, all of us, to work together, we are going to discover these culprits that are responsible for the downfall of our municipalities. Thank you very much.
On the fight against HIV and AIDS. This question comes from Honorable D.C. Christian. It is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
Okay. The COVID-19 pandemic has indeed had an impact on the country's response to HIV, especially on our ability to achieve the 90-90-90 targets by December 2020. The targets aimed to ensure that 90% of our people living with HIV know their status. Also ensuring that 90% of all people that are diagnosed must receive sustained antiretroviral therapy, and ensure that the 90% that is receiving the therapy have a viral suppression. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on our health system has not only affected South Africa, but also it has affected, it's evident throughout the whole world. Drawing on studies undertaken in various countries, the 2021 UNAIDS Global AIDS Update also reported that people living with HIV appear to be at higher risk of COVID-19 illness and deaths. These studies also suggest that poor COVID-19 outcomes in people living with HIV appears to be as a result of advanced HIV diseases and or the presence of chronic comorbidities such as TB, diabetes, and hypertension. This also has the potential to alter the roadmap towards the end of AIDS. South Africa was on course to achieve the ambitious target of 90-90-90 as per the strategy to ensure that we end HIV and AIDS epidemic by 2030. However, the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in interruptions in the fight against HIV and AIDS. By the end of December 2020, the country had managed to achieve 75% in terms of the number of people enrolled on our antiretroviral treatment against the target of 6.1 million. The Department of Health, in response to COVID-19 related challenges, became very innovative by integrating our services in testing and provision of antiretroviral therapy. As a multi-stakeholder body, SANAC remains committed to further strengthening our response towards the ending of the epidemic of HIV and TB. Even as we respond to the novel COVID-19 pandemic, we should continue to deal with HIV and TB. This includes the implementing a catch-up program that integrates services relating to HIV, TB, and COVID-19, and extending the term of our current National Strategic Plan for HIV and TB and STIs 2017 to 2022 to end in 2023. For instance, HIV and TB services are being provided at sites designated for COVID-19 screening in order to ensure that broader reach of our people is accomplished there. Differentiated modes are being employed to dispense antiretroviral medicine, and this includes multi-month dispensing, home-based dispensing, and the central chronic medicine dispensing and distribution system. This system couriers medicines to chronic patients so that they do not need to travel to public health facilities to collect their medicines. These differentiated models enable people to living with this pandemic to have an uninterrupted supply of medication. Honorable Chairperson, as we forge ahead in our fight to end AIDS, let us individually and collectively stem the tide of new HIV infections. South Africans rest assured that even under the constrained fiscal environment, we are ensuring that budget reprioritization does not negatively impact the response to HIV. We commend all sectors of SANAC, as well as our development partners, for their continued collaboration with government in sustaining our national response to HIV and AIDS. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first supplementary question comes from Honorable Christians. Honorable Christians.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy President, thank you for your response. However, Honorable Deputy President, not many South Africans are in a position to travel thousands of kilometers to Russia to seek medical treatment and have to depend on our very own health system in the country. Now, in South Africa, adolescent girls and young women are at a higher risk of contracting HIV in South Africa. This due to the high rate of underage teenage pregnancies recently reported in the country, as well as the scourge of rape and abuse that continues. This has a direct relation to the failures of the ANC government in public health, its inability to tackle the epidemic of rape and gender-based violence.
To the system. Yes, we lost you a bit, but I'm sure you can repeat the sentence.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. This has a direct relation to the failures of the ANC government in public health, its inability to tackle the epidemic of rape and gender-based violence, lack of quality education, as well as the widespread poverty and unemployment. Now, how does our national government intend to reduce an epidemic that, according to the South African National AIDS Council, has seen 72,000 AIDS-related deaths in 2019, when these root causes of the epidemic remain rampant? Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I'm sure I've heard the question very well. I must ensure and probably assure the honourable member that our public health system is a very strong system. I'm proud of that system. We have weathered the storm. We're dealing with a number of pandemics, but this system is still remaining strong. This system is standing even today. We've been able to enroll a number of people into our antiretroviral therapy. A very huge undertaking. And our people have responded. They are taking treatment. As much as we know that there's a big number of these people that have not been tested, but we're almost closer to reaching our target of 90. We're almost at 75%, and we should commend the system. We should commend the system, and this 75% has been introduced into antiretroviral therapy, and their viral load has been suppressed. That is why a number of people living with HIV are still living today, because they are being supported by the Department of Health. So we must give credit where credit is due, and maybe criticize where criticism is due, and criticism must be fair. Yes, I agree with the honourable member that there are serious pandemics that seek to disrupt our social cohesion, especially gender-based violence, especially the scourge of rapes. And if we look at our figures, more young girls are infected. These are behavioral matters which we must call upon our society to desist. We are saying prevention of these epidemics should be our watchword. Prevention is better than cure. Our people must try and use the condoms that are available there. They must try and be faithful in their relationship. They must try and abstain if they are not, it's not time for them to enter into these serious matters of relationships, so that all of us work towards prevention. Prevention is the best way to deal with this, but it talks to our human behavior. The same with COVID-19, it talks to our human behavior. As much as we want to condemn the system, as the public, as society, we must work together with the system, we must work together with government, so that together we can achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The second supplementary question comes from the IFP ex-Ngwezi. Honorable Ngwezi.
Siyathokoza kakhulu Nyambose. Sekela Mengameli, ngibuza lo mbuzo kokugcina ngci namhlanje. Uma ubheka inhlelo ebezikhona ukuya phambili kanye nezimali lezi ezidliwe kakhulu umbulalazwe lona we-COVID-19, ngakube sinayo imali eyanele yokusifikisa lapho besiplane ukufika khona mayelana nohlelo lolu oluthinta isandulela ngculazi negciwane khona. Ngiyathokoza.
Honorable President.
Ngibonge nombuzo obuya ku-honorable member. Angikusho kuqala umlomo ukuthi sithe sivelelwa ile sifo esisibiza ukuthi i-COVID-19 sasilethela ubunzima obuningi. Thina njengohulumeni sabhekana naso lesifo. Kodwa ekubhekeneni kwethu nalesifo asizange sithathe imali ku-Department of Health. Kodwa sithethe imali kwamanye ama-department ukusiza i-Department of Health. Kusho ukuthi i-Department of Health sonke siwu-government siyisapotile ukuthi ikhona ukuqhuba ney'nhlelo zazo ebeyiqhubeka nazo ukulwa ne-HIV. Sase sifaka nemali yokuthi ikhona ukulwa ne-COVID-19. I can assure you that the department has been favored, has been supported by government to ensure that it can face these pandemics of HIV and TB, these pandemics of COVID-19. And the department is well placed. Yes, we have seen some signs of corrupt activities there, and we are dealing with those corrupt elements within the system. But the department is well placed, well supported to deal with these pandemics that are before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The next
It is difficult
from the ANC, from BM Bartlett. Honorable Bartlett.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon. Honorable Deputy President, it would be a must if we did not commend the work of government in ensuring that treatment for other diseases is provided without fail. Throughout this difficult time of COVID-19, more than anything, Honorable Deputy President, government has done enormous work in communicating information regarding COVID-19. Honorable Deputy President, has government considered strengthening this good work done by ensuring that all other chronic diseases are treated, which will undoubtedly assist in the fight against COVID-19? Given that people with comorbidities are the worst affected by this disease. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
Maribong Patlet.
Honorable Chairperson, I'm sure I'm audible. Yes, we are considering a number of options because the advent of COVID-19 has called upon government to find new and innovative ways of delivering service. We are faced with a very huge undertaking of vaccinating the nation, and we're employing technology in the process to try and deliver our services faster and quicker. So we are really looking at ways and means of improving the delivery of services in the health department. Not only looking at the delivery of services, we are looking at improving our facilities, because you might have realized that along the way we've built temporary facilities so that we can accommodate people along the way. That is an indication of a mere shortage of some of the facilities that we must increase, and we must also increase our professionals within the system, our doctors, our nurses. But I can say South Africa is on the right track, has got a very strong health system that the country can be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The next supplementary question is the fourth supplementary question from the EFF, Honorable Mabato Mukause.
Thank you, House Chairperson of National Council of Provinces. Deputy President, as a leader of government business and also playing a role in SANAC, you would also observe and agree with us that COVID-19 has displayed focus on many illnesses, not only HIV, tuberculosis, and diabetes, but even on cancer, with other provinces without oncology services. It is shown, Deputy President, that South Africa has a very dysfunctional health care service. We disagree with you. It is not a system, Deputy President, it's a health care service that you are providing. A system was supposed to speak to other departments like your SASA, your social development, and many other departments. So you are providing a healthcare service. It is a death trap, Deputy President, for millions who depends on public health care. They are not fortunate like yourself who can pay for health care abroad. And those who put you to power, Deputy President, depend on the service. What lessons relating to the shortcoming of public health care has your government learned from the experience of the past year and a half of the COVID pandemic? What specific actions in the next 5 years are you going to put in place to improve healthcare service in this country, not only in hospitals, but throughout healthcare facilities as well? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy President.
Well, I will accept criticism where criticism is due, but I want to differ with the honourable member in terms of our healthcare system. The healthcare that we provide as a country, it's good. Of course, we'll encounter challenges along the way, but we've got basic health care that is given in our clinics, in our hospitals. We've got health professionals, we've got doctors, we've got nurses. That is why we've been able to battle with this pandemic. Of course, in the process, yes, we have lost people. But in the process, some of the people were assisted by our health system. Yes, we've learned 1 or 2 lessons in this period. One lesson is that we need to expand probably our infrastructure. It's quite clear that in the process, we were running short of beds to accommodate people because people were coming in numbers. We must, in one way or another, find a way of increasing our infrastructure. But of course, we must find a way of also increasing our human resource, our professionals, our doctors, and our nurses, and ensure that the environment under which they work is very conducive. By and large, our healthcare has managed up to so far to deal with this pandemic. I agree with you that, yes, some of the ailments like your HIV and AIDS were affected. That is why we had to extend some of our plans. Our strategic plan, which was supposed to end in 2022, has now been extended to 2023 because we realized that we've been disrupted. We're all scared. We ran around until we find our footing to deal with the COVID-19. But I'm sure now we've been able successfully to integrate our work, HIV and AIDS, TB, together with COVID-19. The testing is now happening concurrently. We've been able to integrate our program. As much as we don't have enough resources, we could do a lot, but the resources available are enough to take us forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now move on to the last question. This is question number 18, 1-8. The question is on ending racial tensions in Phoenix and KwaZulu-Natal. This question is from Honorable Winnie Ngwenya, and the question is directed to the Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President.
The recent unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng will go down in history as a major setback towards efforts of nation building and efforts towards social cohesion. The ugly face of racism, lawlessness and vigilantism brought to bear the permeating fault lines in our society that suggest a long road ahead in fulfilling the hopes and dreams we had at the dawn of our democracy. The rampant acts of criminality that were beamed world over and the brutal killings of black Africans in Phoenix and surrounding areas left a very dark stain in our democracy. The socio-economic conditions of poverty, unemployment and inequality that exist in our country are known by all of us and are the critical challenges of the moment. However, no amount of despair should have led to the violence and the destruction of property that we've experienced and witnessed over the past few weeks. The unfortunate events significantly reverse the progress we've made against racism. They challenge all of us to rethink the project of nation building and inclusive economic growth to be fully reflective of aspirations contained in our Constitution. For as long as the majority is feeling excluded from economic opportunities and shared growth, the journey towards a cohesive society will be steeper and harder to climb. It is therefore incumbent upon all of us working across political lines to lead and address decisively the root causes of these unrest and find shared sustainable solutions to ensure that this dark period in our history is never repeated. For its part, the moral regeneration movement and the social cohesion advocates have done considerable work in dispelling racial tensions, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. Various organizations and civil society have also been on the ground right from the beginning of the social unrest, visiting and engaging communities in affected areas like Phoenix, Chatsworth, Verulam, Umlazi, etc. It is encouraging to note the work that has been led by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal in showing solidarity with the affected families and communities in the province who lost their loved ones during this unrest. The KwaZulu-Natal provincial government, in partnership with the South African Police Services, has facilitated engagement with the affected communities and community leaders through the establishment of a district rapid response task team. Further, these teams have developed interventions for all districts, which are monitored on a weekly basis at a provincial level. To further strengthen work of the moral regeneration movement in the province, the Premier has established a social cohesion and a moral regeneration council to coordinate interventions and provide meaningful support to affected families and communities within the province. We advise that the work of the council will also include the establishment of peace committees, forums, whose main objective will be to maintain peace and work towards reconciliation by involving community leaders from areas such as Bambai, Zwelisha, and Amaut, Inanda, and Phoenix. The Minister of Police, together with the KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Safety and Community Liaison and the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, have on a number of occasions visited Phoenix and the surrounding areas to engage communities and identify culprits who were involved in perpetrating violence, which resulted in the death of people. We are also pleased to report that to date over 35 suspects have been arrested, and the police are working with community to improve safety and security, which proves that as a nation we are a resilient people. We are open to deep societal introspection in order to find healing. As we committed in the preamble of our Constitution, Honorable Chair, we must decisively deal with the scourge of racism, which is not in our collective interest because South Africa belongs to all who live in it in a united way. That is why we're encouraged by the swift intervention of the Commission for Religious and Linguistic Rights, which is conducting hearings in the affected areas of KwaZulu-Natal. This contributes a great deal in facilitating a resolution to the friction and conflict, and within cultural, religious, and linguistic communities in our country, thus promoting peace, tolerance, and national unity. All these initiatives can only succeed if we stay united as a people and find sustainable solutions to challenges of economic exclusion and inequality in our country. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Winnie Ngwenya. Honorable Winnie Ngwenya.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. Sibonge nakume Deputy Mengameli ngempendulo ezwakalayo. Sekela Mongameli ohloniphekile njengabantu abazibophezele ekwakheni umphakathi obumbene wentando yeningi ongacwasi ngobuhlanga ongacwasi nangobulili futhi onempumelelo. Kumele sigxeke ngokuqinile noma yiluphi uhlobo lokuqapha, ukuthatha umthetho ngezandla nokuqanjwa kobuhlanga okusolakala ukuthi kwenzeke ePhoenix. It is wrong for any individual or groups of people to be punished for wrongs and crimes of other individuals. We commend the police for progress in arresting suspects. We also commend our government for various social cohesion programs being implemented in the area and other parts of the country. Honorable Deputy President, ake uchazele lendlu ukuthi how do we assure South Africa that this terrible violence incident will not be repeated, and the national program to build a united, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous country is still on track. Ngiyabonga, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy President. Thank you very much, Deputy President. That comes from Honorable Arnolds on the EFF. Honorable Arnolds.
Thank you. President, right in the middle of the unrest that followed the imprisonment of Mr. Zuma, the President of the Republic stood on national television and thanked the vigilante groups in Phoenix and elsewhere. These groups were made of white and Indian people who were extremely violent to African people. We know that the Indians in Phoenix ending up killing more than 40 African people. My question to you, was it wise for the President to encourage vigilante groups to take the law into their own hands and in the process killed African people in their own land? If not, have you had a conversation with him about the dangers of trying to please minority groups at the expense of African people? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
The Honourable Member for the question. Well, knowing the President, and all of you, you know him, and I don't believe that the President can stand up and support racial tensions, support one group over another group. That is not the President I know. That is not the president who fought for this freedom that we are enjoying today. Part of his task during the period of struggle was to facilitate unity and reconciliation. And he was central in the drafting of this constitution that is before us, that seeks to unite all of us. So truly speaking, it is not this president that can stand and support racism. He will never do that. We must, however, join hands and stop pointing fingers at each other. Racism should be erased in our vocabulary. We must treat ourselves as a united people. Diverse as we are, we belong to this country. And let us not keep on pointing fingers at that racial group and that racial group, because that action in itself will polarizing society. As leaders in these buildings, we must be upfront in whatever we do, in whatever we say, to unite our people, to condemn every act of racism, every act of tribalism, so that we reinforce what has been built by our forebears of a united, democratic, non-sexist, prosperous South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. The next supplementary question is the third supplementary question from LF Plus. Honorable Detroit.
House Chairperson, I'm rising on a point of order.
What is the point of order?
I'm rising on a point of order. The Deputy President is extremely out of order, Chairperson. He's not answering the question. He's busy protecting the President of this country. Maybe we should remind him, whilst he was away, black people were killed in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's not a point of order. It's an opinion of the member. Can we protect the integrity of these processes? That's not a point of order. It's raising an opinion.
I'm not the point of order. We will therefore proceed. That's not the point of order. We will therefore proceed and call on member of the Freedom Front Plus, Honorable Detroit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, may I proceed?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Deputy President, I would like to start off by saying that the rhetoric of racial tension in KZN is absurd. During yesterday's debate, Minister Sele humbly thanked communities for protecting their lives and livelihoods and infrastructure and for assisting the police in the battle to restore order, since the police were not able to maintain law and order from their side. The communities that worked together were from all races, and it's unfortunate that people died. If a racially mixed mob charged houses, businesses, and endangered lives, and mostly black people's account, your statement could be water, but it's not the case. One may gather from your initial answer, Mr. Deputy President, that you yourself see the unfortunate incidents as one-way racial events. The residents of Phoenix, irrespective of their race, protected themselves and their property against the violent mob within the prescripts of the law. The police investigations are in progress. My question, Chair. Deputy President,
What are you doing to prevent politicians and the media from labeling the public violence in Phoenix as racial acts that cause further divide and that does not contribute to social cohesion? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President.
Very much, Honorable Chairperson. That is why, in my response, I commended the Premier and the Minister of Police for the initiatives that they took to go down and meet the communities, and commend all the stakeholders, the moral regeneration structures, for their intervention to go down and talk to these communities. In the main, to ensure that whatever friction is there is resolved, and allow these communities to vent out their frustrations and their unhappiness. But for us as government, we must avoid really finger pointing, because that's not leadership. Now, to help this House with information is that government has undertaken to investigate what has happened, especially in Phoenix, so that we can come out with a report that will say, yes, this was a racial tension, this was motivated by racial undertones, and therefore the report will recommend this and this and this. So government is doing an investigation, and I'm sure it's at an advanced stage, and we welcome all the participants that went in there to go and make their assessment. But this government, we want to take a thorough investigation, because life has been lost. So we're not using this as a point-scoring event, but really we want to address this problem. So we commend the provincial government, we commend the Minister of Police, we commend the moral regeneration structures to try and uphold unity in those communities, and try and put a bridge across them so that they are allowed to vent out their frustrations. And in a way, opening up a gate for all of us to go down and support these communities in whatever way we can. So let's support and appreciate all efforts coming from all angles to try and resolve this problem. This is our nature. This is how, as South Africans, we are made out of. We are people who are resilient, and we are able to take up challenges ahead of us and resolve them. So we should encourage and commend those that have done so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The fourth and last supplementary question comes from the DA, Honorable T. Protestant. Honorable Tim.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Deputy President, it is on record that the leader of the DA was on the ground in KZN and Phoenix in particular, during and after the unrest. On the country, other senior political leaders were hiding underneath the skirts of their mothers, or elsewhere, like Russia. After years of being left to their own devices, with pleas for government assistance to maintain the rule of law being ignored by all three spheres of government, the situation was allowed to spiral out of control. Government's lack of action over years, and especially during this last incident, makes government virtually and jointly responsible. Whilst the DA supports any investigation into unlawful deaths in KZN, it must be noted that the utter failure of ANC-led security services created the environment for this anarchy. Will you, Mr. Deputy President, concede this simple fact and dissuade all of those in this House today who wish to turn this failure in state capacity into a racial war? I thank you.
Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Yes, I want to dissuade all our colleagues in the House really not to label this as a racial war, because all of you know very well, guided by the preamble of our Constitution, we are a non-racial society. And all of us, we must work towards that, because that will keep us together. Yes, honorable members in the House, they've got the right to blame government, to say government acted after the act has happened, government was slow in taking action. Yes, we take the blame as government because already an incident has happened and it has robbed us of life, it has robbed us of property and everything. But we must put it in front of you to say, we're going to investigate correctly what happened. Who was behind this? Who was planning this behind the scene? So that as much as we take responsibility as government, we will be able to go behind the perpetrators. But on a general sense, we must really, all of us, work towards not repeating this incident. We must work towards a situation where we strengthen social cohesion. We strengthen the bonds that tie us together as a nation. We should not disintegrate this time around because we are faced with a problem. We must rise above this problem and deal with the challenges of our time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Honourable members, we have come to the end of our sitting, but I would like firstly to thank the Deputy President for availing himself to answer questions at the NCOP and to use the platform of the National Council of Provinces to address various matters that are of interest and are critical to the development of our own nation. So thank you very much, Deputy President. And having said that, that concludes the business of the day. And the House is...
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you. Deputy President. Deputy President.
Thank you very much.